You're tuned in to Ask the Master Auto Technician. Car questions? Get answers right now. Call 850-763-0555.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, 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 yeah!
All right, good morning, everybody. This is James Morris from James Auto Center. Ask the Master Auto Technician. My wife and I get here every morning early to answer automotive questions if you may have one. And a lot of times people don't have automotive questions. We have people that are running for office call. Whoever wants to call, that's what this show is about. It's kind of like an open mic every day from 6 to 6:30 on WPGX Fox 28, and we get people on here that are running for office, that are doing good deeds in their area, and you know what we call people who do good deeds, good deed doers. Anyway, I got Rob Lapham on here. He's calling all the way from, where are you calling from, St. Joe, Rob? Is that where you live at?
Port St. Joe.
Port St. Joe. So you're on Eastern time zone, so you're 1 hour ahead of us. So it's already daylight over there, and you're already, I'm sure it's about nice and bright over there, where it's kind of dark over here on the Panama City side, which is only like 40, 50 miles away. So, so tell me what's going on.
I guess if I were in Jacksonville, it'd be bright and sunny, but the sky's lightening up, but I wouldn't say it's sunny just yet.
Yeah. Well, I had a good time at the state convention this weekend, and those meetings are boring, but we took care of business, got them taken care of, and you were there, and we kind of we gave up your District 2 representative position to my wife. She took it over because you're going to be running for Congress, and you need to dedicate a lot of time to that. I think that's going
to... Yeah, James, it's going to be a full-time job. There are 19 counties. It is the largest district geographically of all the 26 congressional districts.
Wow.
And it runs from Bonifay in the northwest, just the List County seats, all the way down to the western side of the city limit of Ocala in Marion County.
Wow!
And 19 counties in between. So there's a lot of ground to cover, and I'm very grateful, frankly, that Anna Marie Morris picked up my job as this Region 2 rep for our 8 counties in this particular region, because I don't know how I would have done it all.
Well, I looked at it and I said, you know what, he's running for Congress. He's just moved here from Texas with his wife last year or so. He's got a lot of things on his plate that he has to do. He doesn't have time to be district rep for the 8 counties, but he has to run for office, which is, you said there's 22 counties in the Region 2? Is that what you...
It's 19.
19.
But, it feels like 22.
Well, it's a lot of driving, that's for sure, on everybody. It goes all the way almost down to Ocala, District 2 does. Now, why did they do the redistricting? I think there was a reason that they said it was gerrymandered in favor of the Republicans or in favor of the Democrats. I just don't know really why they did what they did. Do you have any reason why they did it on the redistricting?
Well, there were at least 2 issues, and there are probably more because I haven't studied in detail, but there was some really screwy lines in the southeastern part of the state. But the one I'm most familiar with is that Rep. Corinne Brown of Jacksonville, whose district, before the redistricting, it started in downtown Jacksonville, and it squiggled all the way down to Orlando. And it was a very thin district that really didn't make any sense. It was contiguous, but it's the funniest-looking district you've ever seen. A number of groups, including League of Women Voters, brought suit challenging the legislature's district lines. And the outcome, which was decided upon, the ruling handed down by the Florida Supreme Court last December, provided that her district would stay downtown Jacksonville, but basically would move across the northern tier of counties going west from Jacksonville, lop off the top half of those counties, swing around and pull about 3/4 of the Tallahassee area in Leon County.
Oh.
So that district is more contiguous now. In the process, taking all those votes in suburban, or all those registered voters in suburban Tallahassee away from the old District 2, then the new District 2 heads further east and south in a relatively unpopulated area. So that's the history of it.
Wow, okay, so I was just wondering why they did it. Now, what's happened is it's a large geographical area, but it has not that many people in that area. It's like you said, it's a very rural area. And so, but being a very rural area means it's probably very conservative based. A lot of people that don't exactly want big government. And I know that you're running on the platform of smaller government and more freedom. I believe that's I don't know if that's your motto or not, but I know that's a libertarian motto.
Oh, I'm 100% in sync with that. I'm very happy with the makeup of a new district because the last time around, the current incumbent, Gwen Graham, beat the Republican by just a handful of votes, and she had to spend $3.7 million to do it. She is going to have a really difficult time. She hasn't declared it. She hasn't filed with the state yet, but
Right.
I'm assuming she will.
Right.
But this district is arguably much more conservative than it was before the redistricting. And I take your point. I do believe that a large percentage of voters are fed up with government. They want smaller government. They want fewer regulations. And that, of course, is core to libertarian philosophy. So I'm expecting to have a really interesting race. I'm looking forward to it. And, in fact, I'm intending to hit the ground this morning. There happens to be a Kiwanis meeting in Port St. Joe at noon. Can't find a phone number for them. Don't know anybody there. Going to wander right in and say, "Hi, I'm Rob." So
that's what you do.
Today.
That's what you do. Just wander in and say, "Hi, I'm Rob for Congress." .com. Just that's how if you don't want to get up with me. Hi, I'm Rob for Congress. Just keep saying that over and over again, and eventually they'll figure out that you're Rob for Congress. But we're talking about smaller government, less government, and more freedom, because that seems to be what's happened. Is, as Ronald Reagan says, the more government expands, more your liberties decrease. And that's almost an oxymoron, more of your liberties decrease. But that's exactly what ends up happening. We seem to be the freedoms that you and I enjoyed when we, 30, 40 years ago, have all gone away. Right now you've got to have a paper for this or a permit for that. It seems like the government takes away our liberties, then sells them back to us. Do you see that happening more and more every day?
Oh, yeah. It's driven by an impossible budget. There are any number of examples. Something I was looking at yesterday, which had to do with climate change. We are at the 10th anniversary of a film that was put together called "An Inconvenient Truth,"
yes, sir,
starring former Vice President Al Gore. And I decided to have another look at it because I remembered some things that it forecast would happen 5 years after the film came out, and none of them did. One of them was the polar ice cap is going to melt and the polar bears are going to drown because they would sink through the thin ice floes and so forth. And the polar bear population has increased substantially in the last 10 years. All of South Florida was going to be underwater. The theory in the film was that the ice cap over Greenland was melting at a rate which, if it continued on its then-present course, after 5 years, the Florida coastline would begin to recede. And they showed a map, a computer-generated graphics map of South Florida. Basically, anything below a line from Sarasota to Fort Pierce was underwater. In fact, the convention we went to this past weekend would have been underwater.
Now, you're absolutely right. Now, today's paper, they were talking about how they're worried about coastal flooding from global warming. They're worried about the Statue of Liberty. They're worried about all these New York City, all these things being underwater. And some people predict it's only going to be a few inches of rise. Some people predict it's going to be several feet. But the reality is, I haven't seen, has there been any rise whatsoever in the last 10, 15, 20, 30 years of the sea levels that we're aware of? Because when I was a kid, they were talking about global cooling. We were going to have, a ice age, a mini ice age by the time the year 2000 rolled around. And here we are. It's springtime.
Yeah, James, you raise a real interesting point. By the way, in this film, Gore said the last ice age was 11,000 years ago. In fact, it was 110,000. That was just, he had several misstatements of fact. But the most interesting thing, and you mentioned cooling when we were kids, is that in the 1.5-hour film, not once does the former vice president reference the words climate change. He always says global warming. Something happened between 2006 when this film came out, when everything was global warming. And only subsequent to that did the term climate change come into being. And I think the reason for it, and I'm speculating here, I think the reason for it is that global warming implies that the globe is getting continually warmer. And the statistics did not back that up in many cases. It depends on which research you looked at. But the fact is the scientific community was divided depending on how they measured this temperature increase that was alleged by the left. Now, when you say climate change, in the abstract, nobody can really disagree with the
I can't
word
argue with
climate
that.
change.
I can't argue with climate change. Climate changes daily, you know.
Well, sure. I mean, from the time the Earth was formed, I mean, we had core samples under Antarctica show it used to be a tropical paradise. We had the same thing in Alaska, not far from where I lived for many years. They dropped core samples. There were palm trees in Alaska.
Wow.
And then 110,000 years ago, we had the last of the ice ages. So there's always been climate change and always will be climate change. That does not mean that the Earth is going to hell in a handbasket. Excuse my French. The fact is that the studies are not, it's not settled science.
It's not.
I think that's why the pro-government forces, big government, are using the term climate change, because it means different things to different people, and it doesn't. They don't get in the same trap as they did using the term global warming.
Now, I have an engineer that comes on my show every week, and he's a scientist. He, believe it or not, he's a automotive engineer, and he's a petroleum engineer, and he is a scientist, and he studied. He said, matter of fact, he says the Earth itself for the last 10,000 years, they take core samples, has been a lot warmer, and it's been a lot colder in the last 10,000 years. He said, take for example the Stradivarius violin that was created in the around the 14th, 15th, 16th century, some of that area. The reason it was such a good wood is because they had such cold winters. The rings of the trees were so close together, it made the wood a different type of wood. So you had the Stradivarius violin. And he said we've had a lot warmer areas. It's climate change because it's just another way to grab money to instill fear in people and to have them clamor for more protection from the government.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what's going on in that part. But if people want to know more about your congressional race, they can donate money at robforcongress.com.
It's robforcongress.org.
.org, excuse me, .org.
Yeah. And yes, there is a donate page there. I would appreciate donations from any quarter, and in fact, my phone number is also on the website. I'll be glad to talk to anybody. I need a lot of gas, and frankly, before November comes around, I'll probably be bringing my car into you again, James, to have it tuned up because it'll have a lot of miles on it. So for all those reasons, robforcongress.org would very much appreciate your donation.
Absolutely. Now, you drive a little Mini Cooper, so you get very good fuel mileage. It's actual size. That's on the back of your little Mini Cooper. It says a little bumper sticker. It says actual size. No kidding. It's small. Can't get much smaller than that. But it's a Mini Cooper. Gets great fuel mileage, so you're going to be burning the roads up between here and Ocala and all the way up to Bonifay and that area, and over the next few months. And I'm looking forward to debates out there between you and the Republicans and the Democrats. I'm sure Gwen Graham's going to run out there. On the Republican field, we've got quite a few of them out there. We've got doctors, lawyers, and Indian chiefs running down that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Indian chiefs, but certainly two lawyers and one doctor and one former police officer. So there's at least 4 Republicans declared. I'm really looking forward to after August the 30th with the Republican or the primary, because those 4 people will be whittled down to 1. So then it's just me and the Republican and the Democrat.
Yeah,
that ought to generate some television coverage.
Well, the reason I want people to donate to you, because I think people are tired. The Democrats and the Republicans, they seem to be all on the same team. They all seem to be going in the same direction, just one at 100 miles an hour and one at 95 miles an hour towards the. And we need to do something different. We keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And I think you have a good head on your shoulders. I've talked to you before. You seem to understand that these endless unconstitutional wars have got to stop. We've got to get our budget back in rein. We've got to quit our spending like drunken sailors. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. Drunken sailors stop spending when they run out of money. At least they do that. They do stop spending when I speak from experience. Hey, this is James Morris. Thank you, Rob, for calling. We got to go to a break. We'll be right back, and I don't know who's going to call, so give us a call at 850-763-0555. We'll be right back.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed.